لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك.
Pilgrimage in Sudanese writings. It's my great honor, dear audience, welcoming you in this new episode. And this is, by the way, part 6 of a series of 6 episodes that already have been provided to introduce pilgrimage in Sudanese writings. And as you follow, 5 of these episodes have been given reflecting, describing and experiencing pilgrimage in Sudanese prophetic Madih writings. While this is the final part, which is part 6. And in part 6 here we have a different types of writing, that is prose writing. So in this episode, just here, the audience, it is my pleasure once again welcoming you to share me an experience of a Sudanese prose writing describing the journey of Hajj. And in our presence today, one of influential Sudanese scholars and spiritual guide. In our presence today, Sheikh Abd al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim. Sheikh Abd al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim, 1845-1915. His biography informs that he is Sheikh al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim Sheikh al-Tayyibi, the founder of the Sudanese الثمينة in Sudan and Africa. Sheikh al-Mahmud Nour Adaim was born in Trefi, small village north of Khartoum, in the year 1845, and passed away in his own Sufi center in Tabat in central Sudan in 1915. He grew up with his father, the Gnostic and righteous Wali Sheikh Nour Adaim, son of Sheikh al-Tayyibi al-Bashir, under his own khalwa he memorized and started his religious journey. Sheikh Abd al-Mahmud, considered one of the greatest grandsons of Sheikh al-Tayyibi al-Bashir, and to his credit, by the way, the reviving spirit of Tasawwuf in Sudan as general and in Samania in particular. He is a literary writer, scholar and linguist, and he has a remarkable and leading role in the development of Sudanese Sufi movement. On his passing away, he left behind a clear impact on the country Sufi thought, with a special reference to Sammani Sufi thought. Sheikh Abd al-Mahmud has achieved fame through both authority and reputation, for he is one of the perfect guides in Sufism in Sudan across history. Furthermore, his reputation also have been advanced and have been reflected his scholarship orientation, for he is a accomplished and erudite writer. To his credit, around 85 scholarly books encompassing different fields of Islamic studies, and the most significant of his works are the ones on Sufism. In the spirit of introducing Sheikh al-Mahmud, Sheikh Nour Adaim to the Arabic readership, it would be of use to list some his works with a brief account of each of them in order to give the reader glimpses of his intellectual heft. So by the way, here just what I would like to say that by the grace of God, I have presented him to non-Arabic speakers with a documentary biography to his own writings, tackling his the different journals that already he has written on, and for the first time a thorough book that handle his biography, his writings, and his contributions in terms of religious, spiritual, social, and literary contribution have been provided in English language. So among his outstanding authoring, prose writing, putting in consideration that Sheikh al-Mahmud, Sheikh Nour Adaim, he is not only a prose writer, he is a accomplished and erudite poet, and to his credit in this regard, 3 books. One is on suluk, wayfaring in the Sufi path, while 2 other prophetic diwan focusing on the praise of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. So out of his outstanding authoring books, mainly on prose writing, is his masterpiece work الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة. The precious pearl accounts for the journey to Mecca and Medina. And by the way, this authoring counted by the scholars and researchers as the first Sudanese endeavor in the way of the art of traveling. And to my humble knowledge, this is the only Sudanese experience of writing on Hajj journey in prose writing, putting in mind that 5 examples of prophetic madih composition and production have already been provided in our previous 5 episodes, covering different periods, having different style and different schools of authoring. I am referring here to poetic writing of a Sudanese Sufi movement, mainly in its literary contexts. So Sheikh al-Mahmud, to his credit, the unique masterpiece prose writing الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة. So this is the only Sudanese endeavor that is depicting, describing, and taking the reader to live the moment of the traveling, starting from his homeland in central Sudan, passing throughout Sudanese villages and towns till reaching to Jeddah, and from Jeddah to Mecca, and then from Mecca to Medina, back in again to Sudan. A long description, so very interesting description in prose writing, as I have told.
والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك.
So the book of الدورة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة is a literary genre that describes Muslim journey to Mecca and Medina, shedding light on landmarks along the way, notable tribal leaders and rulers. It also explains modes of livelihood, trade interactions, and languages, while elaborating on the rituals of Hajj and the deep longing Muslim feel to visit the city of the Messenger of God, our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. As Muhammad al-Mas'udi says in his book describing the Hijaz journey through his work, the pilgrimage to the sacred house of Allah in travel literature, such narratives are distinguished by documenting the traveler's observations of the social, architectural, intellectual, and cultural phenomena encountered during the transition between places. The importance of studying Hijazi journeys within travel literature and art more broadly lies in the knowledge they transmit about the rituals of Hajj. Dear audience, I am reminding you that I'm presenting part 6 of our series of episodes depicting, introducing pilgrimage in Sudanese writings. However, our present episode is a unique of its own nature, for it's providing the experience of Sudanese writing in prose writing, or it introduce Sudanese experience on prose writing describing Hajj journey. And as I told in our present today, a very influential Sudanese writer, Sheikh Abd al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim. So I would like the audience, sharing me just the titles, the content, the main contents of this unique piece of writing, الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة. So the content of this holy journey, the Hajj journey and travel art, the Hijaz journey, is starting from the journey from Tabat, al-Mahmud to Khartoum, meeting the Governor General of Khartoum, then the traveling and the journey from Khartoum to Sawakin, and in the way encounters and discussions in Sawakin, encounters by the way with personalities, leaders, and then crossing the Red Sea, reaching to Jeddah, days in Jeddah, description of the city of Jeddah, and then on the road to Mecca, on the ritual pass before entering Mecca, heading to Mina, the halt at Arafat, or Arafat halt, the two sermons on the day of Arafat regarding the Umrah, the farewell Tawaf, existing the sacred mosque, leaving Mecca, the ruling on visiting Medina, the journey from Mecca to Rabiq, then the sumbuk or boat, and the experience of its stop of movement as a sea, then days in Rabiq, the way stations on the road to Medina, and from Medina back into Sudan via Jeddah, Shandi, Sawakin, till he covered the areas of Fadramli, visiting Marrah, and then reaching to Tabat, the final destination and the center of the Usr. So, just the audience, these are the titles that have been covered inside this unique piece of writing, الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة by Sheikh al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim. To go further, the audience, in presenting this unique piece of prose writing, here once again I would like you sharing me this part of information about the book itself, in which here we have more details about this journey, the journey of traveling, which, as I told, has been penned by Sheikh al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim. So the most well-known book on the Sufi journeys in Sudan is the book of الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة by Sheikh al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim. The قطب بثمانية طريقة. This written journey now is a spectacular, marvelous record on Sufism arts of journeys, and it considers a new edition, a new contribution. The author in this documentary work describes the beginning of the journey, as well as the areas that he came across. In addition to the personalities that he met, adding to that some of the outstanding Sufis that he met along his journey, as well as a quarantine. And quarantine, by the way, here, the arrival of the Sheikh and those in his company to Jeddah. And then he told us about the process of passports, the fees, and so on. In addition to the tiring road journey, very hard journey, by the way, what had happened of Karamat. Moreover, the fantastic description for Jeddah and Rabiq and some of Mecca and Medina outstanding personalities, as well as his meeting with the Sudanese in Medina al-Munawara, mainly the grandson of the founder of the Tariqa. Also the pilgrimage rituals, and then his homecoming, and what he saw till his return to Tabat after the visitation to his grandfather Sheikh Abd al-Tayyibi grave at Marrah, north of Omdurman. Dear audience, here also I would like to draw your attention that this piece of writing, I'm referring here to الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة مكة والمدينة, have been provided with more than one study. And just here what I'm doing is just presenting the views of some other researchers that have commented and investigated this unique piece of writing with studies and investigation. So one of the researchers who have tackled and provided the study to this piece of writing has written one of the significant manuscripts, that is his own view, one of the significant manuscripts in which its author recounts his pilgrimage to the Holy Lands of Mecca and his visit to the Prophet city, Medina, is that one of Sheikh Abd Sheikh Nour Adaim, الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة. This work offers a detailed description of the journey, capturing the deep emotions and profound spirituality to the sacred pilgrimage. The author narrates the road he took, beginning in the village of Tabat in central Sudan and continuing all the way to Mecca, followed by his visit to the city of the Messenger of God, peace and blessing be upon him. The author vividly describes the most important landmarks and sites he encountered along the way, starting from Tabat, then Sawakin, Port Sudan, Jeddah, Mecca, and finally Medina. So this form of writing of literature provides fertile ground for social, economic, and religious studies and demonstrates the author's proficiency in language and effective communication. The author states in his manuscript that he set out to perform the Hajj pilgrimage to the sacred house of God on Thursday, the 4th of the Hajj of the Qa'dah, in the year 1324 Hijri, correspondence to 1906. It is said that a large number of pilgrims accompanied him on this sacred journey, and the villagers came out to bid them farewell in what was known as the Zaffat al-Hujjaj, or the pilgrims send-off procession. The pilgrims send-off procession. He recounts the warm welcome and generosity of the villages his caravan passed through, such as the village of Al-Wali, the village of Wad Bataru, and the village of Wad al-Majdi. Then he mentions, by the way, this village is in the center of Sudan. In Khartoum, Sheikh pointed out to his meeting with the Governor General Winjit as well as of Az-Zubair Pasha. He then departed from Khartoum towards Sawakin, where he says he stayed with the virtuous and generous man, Sheikh Muhammad Tahir ibn Muhammad Kashna. Sheikh al-Mahmud describes the city of Sawakin, noting that it was a large city with merchants, where people were mostly preoccupied with worldly pleasures and distractions. The city has 3 mosques, where Friday prayers were held. The Mosque of the Gnostic, Sheikh Muhammad al-Mayzoub, the Mosque of al-Mirghani family, and the Shinawi Bey Mosque. Then the Sheikh came to speak about the money in the position of or the money that required for the journey. He said from each individual was 16.5 riyals, 10 for the buildings, 12.5 piastres girsh for the passport, and 3 piastres for quarantine. Then he told, we boarded on Wednesday afternoon, which was the 24th of the Qa'dah. The Sheikh then describes his Red Sea journey from Sawakin to Port Sudan, which he says was known at that time famous with Sheikh Barquth. From there, from Sheikh Barquth or Port Sudan, from there he set out toward Jeddah. He recounts that after boarding the steamship Wabur, the sea journey took 18 hours. He said the ship sailed to Al-Krentina, a quarantine station on an island in the Red Sea, where pilgrims were fumigated by soldiers of the Ottoman empires. So those who were in the charge of organizing, monitoring Hajj at that time were the Turks. And here the Sheikh stated that the soldiers The soldiers of the Ottoman Empire were in charge of the Hajj process at that time. Sheikh al-Mahmud and the group of pilgrims in his company arrived in the city of Jeddah in the state of Ihram. They reached the endowment of Sayyid Ahmad ibn Idris, the founder of the Idrisiya school of thought, of Sufi thought, which he had dedicated to God in Jeddah. Al-Mahmud describes Jeddah as a crowded city, filled with a wide variety of people from different backgrounds, so diverse that only God knows the full extent. The dominant activity among them is buying and selling. There are 5 main mosques in Jeddah: the Shafi'i Mosque, the Hanafi Mosque, Amimar Mosque, the Okasha Mosque, and the Basha Mosque. There are also more than 20 Sufi lodges, zawiyas, including those attributed to my master Sheikh Mustafa al-Bakri, to Sheikh Muhammad al-Samman, to Shazali, al-Sanusi, and Ibn Idris al-Fasi. Regarding the streets of Jeddah, the author says there are 4 main quarters. That is just about the neighboring hood at that time, during the time of Sheikh al-Mahmud journey. That is the Yemeni neighborhood or quarter, the Sea neighborhood, the Sham neighborhood, and the Muslim neighborhood. He further on notes, we entered into Ihram for Hajj while still at sea, aligned with the area of Al-Juhfa. He goes on to describe the route from Jeddah to Mecca as being rich in water and food, thanks to the efforts of the stationed soldiers from the Ottoman Empire army. Inns, and that is hotels, were available along the way, offering coffee and food. Some people selling for profit, other giving freely, seeking reward from God. He concludes the first part of the journey by their arrival to Mecca and said, "We arrived in Mecca and we were welcomed by the sacred pigeons of the Haram." And in this he composed poetry in praising of that welcoming guest to them. I'm referring here to the pigeons of the Haram. أيا حمام الحرم المشهور، جئنا بكامل السرور وما أتيت إلا بأمور مصلحة للنفس والضمير، سر ولكن ليس يدريه سوى حور همام كامل النحرير، مطهر القلب من الأغيار مستغرق في حضرة القدير. The audience, I would like reminding you that I'm introducing Sheikh Nour Adaim with his masterpiece الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة. To quote Sheikh al-Mahmud following his journey of Hajj pilgrimage, to quote part of his writing from his very same book, I would like to say, on entering the state of Ihram from the Miqat, he wrote, "We entered the state of Ihram for Umrah at Al-Hulayfa, near the Mosque of the Tree, known as the Mosque of the Messenger of God, peace and blessing be upon him." And then he took us with the speech about the sa'i between Safa and Marwa. And in this he wrote, "Then we went to perform the sa'i amongst 7 times between Safa and Marwa, starting at Safa and ending at Marwa. Then we with him on Arafat halt. When he wrote, when the pilgrim reaches Arafat, it is recommended to descend at Namira and to engage abundantly in supplication and the proclamation of godliness. In another station, he took us from Arafat to Muzdalifah. Overnight stay in Muzdalifah. He has written, the pilgrims stay at the sacred monument and they're overnight in Muzdalifah, and combining the Maghrib and Isha prayer there, shortening the Isha prayer, just perform 2 rak'ats. Then Sheikh al-Mahmud on the journey took us to the stoning the pillars, stoning of the devil, what is known as Jamrat al-Aqaba. Then sacrifice, the offering of sacrifice, udhiyah, and then either the pilgrim shaving his entire hair or trimming. To quote him, hastening through the valley of Mash'ar, stoning the Jamrat al-Aqaba, performing the sacrifice and the tawaf of Ifadah. And finally, here he took us to the farewell tawaf, Tawaf al-Wada'. He wrote, we perform the farewell tawaf, which is recommended so that the pilgrim finally memory of the sacred house is of worship. So this is what Sheikh al-Mahmud has written about the process of Hajj rituals inside Mecca, starting from Tawaf al-Qudum, then Mabit at Mina, or the 8th day of the Hajj, then going to Arafat, spending a night on Muzdalifah, coming to Mina to stoning the devil, sacrificing, shaving, or trimming the hair. Then the rest of stoning, that is on the 2nd or the 3rd day of Hajj, then Tawaf al-Wada' or the farewell Tawaf. Meanwhile, with the compulsion of Hajj rituals at Mecca, then the visitation to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, in his abode, Madina al-Munawara. So visiting al-Madina al-Munawara, intention and longing. To quote him, one yearns and longs for the city of Medina and wishes to live there for a lifetime. Then Sheikh Mahmud went further, and with him in the presence of visiting the Prophet's mosque. After arriving at the place corner, I perform ablution, enter the Prophet mosque, and prayed the greeting of the mosque rak'ahs inside the mosque. Then he took us to the greeting the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. When I finished my supplication, I turned towards the noble face in a state of reverence and humility. Then, supplication at his placed grave. O Allah, to quote Sheikh Abd, O Allah, this is the sanctuary or haram of your messenger, peace and blessing be upon him, which he declared sacred by your command. So makes me forbidden to the fire. To have his journey from Mecca to Medina in such more details, I would like you sharing me these notes. Sheikh al-Mahmud describes the journey to Medina. At that time, it was by sea. And during this journey, the wisdom of Hajj as a means of communication and connection became evident. The Sheikh took the opportunity to reconcile differences and resolve disputes among African pilgrims. He also engaged in dialogue with Yemeni pilgrims about their Zaydi Shia doctrine, demonstrating skill in persuasion and an adeptness in managing discussion. This was one of the benefits of the old travel routes, which enabled interaction and integration among Muslims and allowed for an understanding of the various Islamic schools of thought. So, on entering al-Madina al-Munawara, he stated that his entering to al-Madina al-Munawara was on the 16th of Muharram, 1325 Hijri. He says, we entered the city from the eastern road and we were received by Sheikh Muhammad al-Hassan al-Samman, who hosted us in the Samman Lodge, the house of our master Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Then, as we have followed together, Sheikh al-Mahmud recounts the story of his entrance into the noble Prophet Mosque. After performing ablution, he said he prayed 2 rak'ahs of greeting the mosque, and then for his visit, he also told us of his visit to the greeting of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So inside Medina, by the way, he paid the visit to the sacred holy places, Baqi', Quba, the mosque of the 2 Qiblas, the martyrs of Uhud, and some other sacred places inside Medina al-Munawara. Then the return journey from Medina to Sawakin began. So Sheikh al-Mahmud recounts the farewell of the people of Medina, including Sayyid Ahmad al-Samman, the grandson of Sheikh Muhammad al-Samman, the founder of the Sammaniya Sufi order. The return journey started from Medina on Sunday, the 9th of Safar. He says, we took the road through Al-Farah and we traveled in safety and comfort until we reached Rabiq. We were accompanied by many Arabs who were distinguished by sincerity of intention and good manners until we reached Jeddah, then Sawakin, where Sheikh al-Mahmud was exempted from customs. Then Sheikh descended to Shandi, where the people generously received him and gifted him money and goods. until he reached his homeland in Modramli and from there to Marrah. In Khartoum, he met Zibir Pasha for the second time, and he was welcomed by village folk and students in a festive procession, congratulating him on an accepted Hajj and forgiven of sins. The journey lasted nearly 4 months and took place over 100 years ago, offering a vivid portrayal of the Hajj journey, describing Sawakin as part of Sudanese cities, describing furthermore Port Sudan, and then we follow him how he described the journey to Mecca and from Jeddah to Mecca and from Mecca to Medina al-Munawara and back in again at that time. It also highlights the Ottoman Empire efforts in securing both land and sea routes for pilgrims and ensuring the safety of the two holy mosques. The audience, I would like reminding you that just I'm presenting pilgrimage in Sudanese writings, and in our episode, as you follow the process of presenting, just we have Sheikh al-Mahmud Sheikh Nour Adaim with his unique prose writing الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة. And what I would like also to add in this particular context, and to repeat again, this is the first Sudanese endeavor describing the journey of Hajj in prose writing. And what also I would like to say, this is also one of the rare writings on the level of Muslim world. So it is not only a Sudanese attempt of writing, but furthermore it is a successful contribution to the Muslim writers describing the long journey of Hajj, taking the prose form of writing as I told. So the sources that I depend on presenting this episode, the study provided by Professor Abdurrahman Ahmad Usman entitled الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة إفادات وفوائد في طريق الحج للشعب المحمود الشيخ نور الدائم. Furthermore, also I have benefited to the contribution of the researcher Professor Saleh Mahrous in his study الشعب المحمود نور الدائم الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى مكة والمدينة, published article in Mecca electronic newspaper on 11th of May 2022. And another source that I depend on is Abdul Abdullah Saleh, Sheikh Abd Sheikh Nour Adaim, his religious, social and scholarly legacy, published book 2019.
لبيك اللهم لبيك
So by presenting and introducing Sheikh al-Mahmud, Sheikh Nour Adaim in his prose writing, الدورة الثمينة في أخبار الرحلة إلى المدينة, here dear audience, I would like saying that this is just an example of Sudanese writings. 5 selected poetic production of Sudanese writers have been provided as a sample, by the way, as a sample that, as I told, represent different periods of time and different schools of writing, while the last one is in prose writing. And as I told, this is the only Sudanese prose writing describing the journey to Hajj. And as we follow, it has been penned by Sheikh Abd Sheikh Nour Adaim. So, for all these, I would like to thank you, dear audience. Until seeing you in another episode, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك